Hey, it's D, and in this video, I want to show you how you can take an image of any kind of garment, put it onto a model. This model here has been generated by AI, this photo shoot here, um, all of it, and be able to put the garment on that model just like this, and finally be able to spit out and create a video from this image, like the one that you're seeing here. So there's a fair bit going on. I want to be able to show you the open source way to be able to generate this type of image. And I want to show you take you through some live examples. We put this through the ringer and actually do it live in front of you. And finally, at the end of the video, I want to show you how you can use some closed source tools and platforms to be able to do this for yourself if just as an alternative, you know? So if this sounds interesting, then stick around. And if you haven't already, do hit the subscribe button below on this channel. We do everything and share everything possible to help your brand grow. All right, let's get into it. Before I dive into the workflow, let's kind of break down what the workflow actually does so that I can explain it to you and how you don't have to actually run through every single piece of the workflow I'm about to show you later. All right. So primarily what we're going to need to do is be able to, let's call this close swap first and foremost. First thing we need to be able to do is generate an image. And also be able to upload a garment image. And then from there, with this generated image, we do need to be able to mask out what the garment itself, right? So find some way to be able to identify and solo out the top or the bottom, or if it's a full body dress, for example, and be able to then swap that part out. So we need the masking portion, and then we need the swapping portion. And this right here is where this part links up with that. And then from there, what typically happens is from the swap, we have a few other steps because this image right here isn't exactly there we go. The image right there isn't exactly the most high quality, at least not publish ready quality, right? So from here, we're going to use a model called Stable Diffusion XL to then be able to just refine and add more detail back into the model, to the image. And further, again, we're going to use another model, diffusion model called Flux, to be able to add more detail into the image. And finally, we're going to upscale the image. Now, when we go through the live examples, you're going to see times where from the swap image itself, it's going to be able to be good enough, or at least have enough detail to be able to go publish straight away. And then we can take it straight to the upscale, for example, right? Or sometimes what happens is we put it through here and it actually deteriorates, and we need this next step to then be able to bring it back up again. So we can go straight from here down to here, or we might be able to go these ways as well. So it's not just this linear piece in there. All right. Okay. That being said, we know what we need to build in here: generate image, upload the image, be able to mask it, be able to swap it out, and then a bunch of refinement and upscaling over there. Now that we know what we are doing, we can go into the demo itself. Here we go. All right, so what we're seeing here is the workflow in ComfyUI. If you want a copy of the workflow for yourself, I've added a JSON file in the description below so you can get it for yourself. When you do take that JSON file and drag it onto your ComfyUI, you may get a bunch of missing nodes and stuff like that, that type of notification error. What you want to do then is go into your manager here and install any missing custom nodes. So for this demo, we are using a virtual try-on, and we are using this one right here called Cat Vuitton. Okay. Now, There are several other ones in here, but for the purpose of just being able to help you kind of spin this up for yourself, this is the one that we're using. All right. And you can see it's ComfyUI Cat Vuitton, and it's from this user in this author in here, PZC 163. All right, let's get into the good stuff. Let's close these guys out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups, and then a bunch of previews in here. All right. So let's go in here first and check out what the first group does. So essentially the first group in here is just to be able to generate an image. I've also put a bunch of fast groups bypassers in here, and I'll show you why that is the case, because really you don't want to hit Q and run the whole thing and just clock up a bunch of load time. You want to be able to do it one by one by one. So when we're first starting out, it'll likely more look like this. In fact, I'll do it right in front of you right now. And because the workflow is so big, there will be a bit of zooming out and in, as you'll find with most ComfyUI tutorials, really. And by the way, if this whole ComfyUI thing is completely alien to you, I highly recommend that you just go on YouTube, which you're on right now, and just search ComfyUI. Because, and here, Comfy, C-O-M-F-Y, UI, because there are a ton of great creators out there showing people how to use ComfyUI and getting people up on the basics. Okay. All right. So first thing we want to do is be able to generate an image. Let's run this one by one. So we're using the Flux model in here just for this demo. Again, same thing. And we're throwing a LoRa in here too. Essentially, a LoRa is a fine-tuned version of the larger model trained on specific aspects of imagery. Okay, let's call it that for now without overwhelming with a whole bunch of technical stuff. Leave this. You can just turn this off and on anytime you want. That's what I like about the Power LoRa loader. So first, again, whistle stop tour. Generate image. After we generate the image, this is where we upload the images here, and then spit out the output of the virtual try-on. Now, based on this output here, we will then go, okay, well, do we need to go into the Stable Diffusion XL part, the Flux part, or just go straight to upscale? So then we make a decision here, right? We view this image first, and then we make the decisions and switch them on so that we can just keep the thing moving as efficiently as possible. So down here is just the Stable Diffusion portion that uses an IP adapter to be able to solo out and do some image-to-image stuff and add just more detail compared to the one above. And then we use the Flux model here with a whole bunch of stuff, same type of deal, to be able to add more detail in here. I'll talk you through each piece as we do the live demo, okay? And finally, the upscale portion is just taking the image that Flux created up above here and just adding a lot more dimension. As you can see, it's a 4x upscale, right? So then that way, the final image would be nice and big in terms of megapixels and in terms of just image size, for you to be able to, for it to look nice and have a lot of detail, okay? All right, let's start with the first piece in here, and we've already done this one. Let's do another one, right? So quite recently on this IG post in here, I saw a brand that liked it. Turned out the brand is Kugi.com. So let's do one for them. How about that? You can see on their website, they've got some really detailed designs on their outfits. So this is going to be a nice little challenge to see whether the diffusion model actually picks it up or not. And let's throw it into something that looks in the same, it looks like it's in the same theme of what they usually put out, right? So kind of urban backgrounds, nothing in the forest or anything. Let's pick that. So let's go in here and let's first generate an image. So before we generate an image, let's find an outfit, men, that they that has a fair bit of like design. Okay, let's pick this one over here, right? So let's generate an image and then be able to put this garment on top of, and let's click into it actually. This garment here on top of the image. Okay, so put it onto the model that we generate. All right, let's come back here and let's generate a model. Now, we've already got the Laura in here. Let's put in a prompt. Now, it's going to be a male model. So let's go something like this. How about a stylish man? Let's make him Asian. A stylish Japanese man poses confidently let's put him in Manhattan. How about that? Under a concrete overpass. He is exuding a modern streetwear inspired look. Just, yeah, okay. He wears a fitted. Now, this is the outfit portion, and I want for the image to have the top stand out color-wise and not blend into the background to give the masking as much of an opportunity to pick up the outline of the outfit as much as possible. So let's make him wear red, okay? A fitted red t-shirt. Paired with, let's make him wear, I don't know, like beige pants and crisp white sneakers. Let's give him his short haircut enhances his overall polished aesthetic. Let's make him do some action, right? Because otherwise what happens is it'll just come out really, really generic looking, that photo. He holds sunglasses in his hands, adding to the effortless and cool vibe of the shot. And this part at the very end here, let's go the image. No. The industrial backdrop with it. And you know, notice how like it's English, but it's not really English. There's a certain way of prompting these things that it always starts with the subject, what he or she is wearing, and then further detail around how the subject looks, what they're doing, and then finally just to wrap the whole thing up. It's just to contextualize the whole image. It really is about what the image is trying to convey. So the industrial backdrop, with its raw textures and muted tones, accentuates his outfit, making this a standout fashion forward portrait. All right, let's go with that. Okay, everything else has been muted, which is great. Now, a few things to note in here as you're running through this yourself. If you are, keep the width and the height 768 by 1024. That is those are the dimensions that Cat Vuitton are happy with. And over here, the seed can be random, that's fine, but change this over to make sure this is increment, because when you hit Q and run this, you want to make sure that the seed just goes up by one number after generation, so that it's not random and it's just a completely random number and you might forget the previous seed because the first image that you generate might not be the image that you like. Or the third one would be worse, so you want to go back by a few steps. You can always keep it increment here. Steps are 20, that's fine. CFG is 1, which is what we need for exactly for this for Flux. Euler is good, normal is great, 80 safe tensors, and we are setting this. This is a set node, and let's hit Q. Now, because I've run this before I started recording this video, it goes straight into the K-sampler. It's not loading up the models. If this is your first run, what typically happens is, depending on your GPU power, and notice how I'm just renting GPU and using a paid service with Think Diffusion, so that you guys are able to do it too without having to have some kind of crazy computer setup with mad GPUs. It will take a while for the model itself to load. Okay, sweet. I think we have an image. Let's have a look. Preview the image. Okay, and that is not what we want. Oh, there we go. Kind of, sort of okay. I mean, he's wearing sunglasses and he's holding sunglasses. All right, so this is the increment here. Let's see what happens if we increment. Go again. And a lot of the time, especially at this step, you do not want to proceed. That's why this is off right now. You don't want to proceed to all the other steps until you're able to crank out a good step in here. A good image in here, rather, not a good step. All right, somehow he's wearing sunglasses and also holding sunglasses. I really do not want that. That's not a Japanese man posing confidently, yes. His short haircut enhances the overall aesthetic. Heel sunglasses enhance. Okay, let's see what happens if we take the sunglasses part out, okay? And let's hit Q once again. Hey, this is what happens if you're doing a live example in front of people. You're just going to get a whole bunch of, you get to see how the sausage is made. Hopefully that's the reason why you're sticking around for this video. And the reason why I am on the ultra as opposed to their turbo or fast settings is because I do want to move fairly quickly on this. All right, let's just use this just for the sake of now. The prompt really is the thing that's going to crank out very different looking images. I do like the fact that it is looking like a real person though, as opposed to something that looks too overly glossy. So we've got this in here already. Right now it is a preview image, it's not a save image, which is completely fine, but it is set here, so that's okay. If you do want to save the image, just swap this over to save image, and it'll be able to save the image instead of having it as a preview, okay? All right, so I'm happy with this for now. I'm going to enable the next one. As you can see right now, it is muted. So I'm just going to enable the next one there. And now it's no longer muted. Okay, let's go down here. And instead of, so this right here is a build where you upload the image. Instead of doing that, we can now change it over So instead of uploading the image, I want to do the get instead. So instead of we've got a set image reference. So let's do this. Let us do a get node and be able to turn this and put that in here, right? So these parts right there are not connected to anything. That's completely fine. And I want to get output, where is it? Now I just want to make sure that it is the right name after all. Output 1 generated. So we come down here and we set it to output 1 generated, okay? And this will then throw it into image reference for all these other parts in here. And just so that we know and we can confirm that it is the right image, I'm going to also show you guys how to set a preview image in here. So it is a preview image instead. Now, before we hit run on this thing, just want to make sure that I come back up here and keep this to fixed. Because if I re-roll this again and run, if I don't have it as fixed, it's going to move on to another image, right? And I have to say it again. If you're not happy with this image, do not move ahead. Keep rolling or change your prompt so you can get the image that you want out of this, okay? All right, let's go back down here and let's change this guy up. So we want this image over here. Right click, let's just save the image and then let's throw it over here. Upload. Let's go into this guy. Graphics. And this guy here. And quite literally that, because all the other settings are in place already, that's literally all you got to do. But I want to talk you through what actually is going on. So we've got an image garment. We're uploading it as an image here. We have Florence 2, which is a language model that is really great at taking an image and describing, because the task here is caption, describing what is in the image. Okay, I haven't hit run yet, so this is from the previous generation in there. So this describes the garment, and then it sets it as image garment prompt. So this is a prompt that comes out. And down here, we are masking. So right now we're using the auto mask generator. Now it doesn't always work. So I'll show you after we do the demo some alternatives, but this is just the quickest one that I can show you right now for the sake of this demo. And what this does is it gets the reference image, right? The one that we put in here, throws it through the auto mask generation. And you can pick whether it's you want to solo out, mask out, the upper, the lower, overall. And once it reads it, once it runs through the process, this is what will come out the other side, and you can see which part of the image gets masked. Okay, so let's hit run for now, and then go through this piece in here. And this piece in here is the actual virtual try-on itself. So cat virtual try-on, we are loading in a pipeline. We're getting the reference image, right? The one that was generated above. We're getting the garment image. We're getting the mask. So the mask from here, and we're throwing these 4 things into the virtual try-on. If you don't like the image above, if you don't like the image here, but the way it's generated, change the seed above. I'm keeping it fixed for now. Or you can set the control after generate to increment and just keep queuing and running the queue and running the queue. Okay. All right. Let's hit queue. Speaking of queue, and let's run it now. And let's see what this thing spits out. By the way, if looking at this workflow stuff has been helpful for you so far, I would really appreciate if you gave this video a like, and also just let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next. All right, back to the action. And just like that, he is now wearing the top. Let's actually move over to the image preview section. And I want to have a look at the garment itself versus what he's wearing to see whether the consistencies are there. So There's an upward little chevron arrow looking thing here. There's some intricate designs. And this part in here, those are the visibly obvious things. So as you can see, it's pretty close. It got the hoodie part too to stick out from the neck. And it's got the arms part right as well. So I'm pretty happy with that, right? So let me show you now what happens. And this is just this image over here. It doesn't have the AB just yet. Let's see what happens when we run this through the entire gamut, okay? And how I want to show you what comes out the other side. Let's make sure that this here is fixed. Great. We don't want that random or increment. That is fixed too. That's great. And up here, just to confirm again, this is fixed. That's great. All right. So these are now all unmuted, which means, there we go. Because if they're muted, they'll look like this. And then let's unmute. Great. Run it through. All right, so we ran it through the different processes where we put it through the stable diffusion model and then ran that output through to the Flux model and then ran that output through the upscaler. Let's see how we did. And let's do an image compare. Let's look at the image compare here, okay? So this is the first pass where we use the virtual try-on and we managed to put it on. Now, this is the next pass where what we're seeing here is the original, or rather the previous. And look at what happened after we passed it through the stable diffusion. It actually oversimplified the patterns. And now we lose a lot of that texture, which then the next one took even further and didn't add it back. And so even the upscale, even though the upscale was able to do a lot, you can see the detail in here in his face, right? So let me just actually zoom in. I'll be able to show you. See how it adds a lot more detail into his face and the blurriness compared to the previous one, but we lose all that detail, right? And then we go to, and this is the upscaled version, by the way, and we go back here and we have an image that looks great, but, and even look at the pants, a lot more of the shadows come in, but the image is wrong, right? By way of the pattern. So this is a perfect example of where you can really go from here to there. And once we go here, we can then lean on an upscaler to be able to, so go straight from outputting, taking this set output one, cap VTON, and throwing and just turning stable diffusion off, bypassing it, turning flux off, bypassing that, and just going straight down here where what we want to feed into this node, instead of output 3 flux, we just want to output the cap VTON and have it go with the upscale. All right. So that's one example in here. Let's try another one. Let's go female fashion this time. So say, for example, we want to have one for Pepper Mayo, right? And we look at having a look at Pepper Mayo's Instagram. I can see that they're outdoor shoots, some city stuff, but there's also some beach stuff here too. Like that beach one over there, that lookbook, you can see it's all mainly beachy stuff. And it's these outfits in a beach kind of background. And say, for example, we want to pick, let's look at high AOV. Okay, this one, well, high product price. Let's pick this one in here, click into it, and let's pull, let's see. Okay, now the back is interesting to be able to train a, we can actually train and digitize the outfit, but that's a whole other conversation that's out of scope of this video. But let's pick this image here for now, all right? And let's put this on someone. This is gonna be interesting because of, I mean, look at how many buttons there are. There's a lot of detail in this outfit. Let's see whether this, when put through a vision model, can actually do its thing. Let's go back in here again and let's generate an image. and then we can upload the garment. All right. Before we generate an image, let's just make sure that I turn that off and all these guys off too. Now, I'm sorry, I talked about the masking. I really should come back to this. Now, sometimes, and I hope maybe we'll run through the example first, because it might show a case where it does a poor job of isolating out and detecting what we're trying to pull out of it. And if so, I want to show you the alternative, right? Using segment anything too, which is a pretty interesting node. I love that node a lot. All right, here we go. We're back here. Got RF beauty. That's great. And let's say, just for the sake, just oblige me here. Let's say the Pepper Mayo wants to go after the more curvy showcase, right? So instead of the models all looking like this, what happens if the outfits, how do they look on like curvier models? Let's see whether we can generate a curvier model and see whether the outfit can actually, we can generate an image that looks good on a curvier model. All right, let me go come up with a prompt, and then I'll come back and just paste it in instead of make you suffer through watching me come up with a prompt, okay? All right, let's throw this prompt in here. A stunning fashion editorial featuring a confident curvy model wearing a dress which has a structured sleeveless bodice, I think that's how you pronounce it, a delicate row of fabric-covered buttons running down the center, etc., etc. And we're going to put her on a picturesque coastal backdrop with the ocean and sky stretching behind her, right? We want this to be, to just feel strong and also stylish at the same time. All right, so let's go and hit Q, and let's see what comes out. Now, while this thing is cranking along and it's going through and doing its thing, a really great way to get prompt suggestions is to actually take the garment or the image, throw it into a GPT, and ask it, hey, how would you describe this image? And it'll be able to just spit out a prompt ready for you, especially when it comes to clothing. All right, let's see whether this might be a, let's go for another one, because this one looks kind of plain, right? Like it really is nothing special. Let's queue again. Oh, no. Again, see, want to go increment. Because it was fixed, nothing happened. I hit Q and it just kind of did nothing because there's no new seed. Let's hit Q once again. All right, let's go with this image over here. Okay, so found this one. Let's copy this image and move it over and turn this guy on. Let's move it down here and select this node, Command V to paste, and that should throw this image in here. Great. Now, before I proceed, I just want to make sure that this is fixed. So I did a whole bunch of incrementation and randomization just to be able to get the image that I want. All other stuff staying the same. So we're using the same LoRa in here and the same model. And let's go back down here and upload the image. So I think it would be, okay, there we go. That one right there. So I just took a screenshot of the outfit from before. And notice how this outfit isn't just a product image alone, right? It actually has arms and legs, you know, a person cut off the head, right? But just the dress in there. And let's see how this goes. Okay, everything else is good. That is, all settings were great there. We can make sure that this part here is fixed. That's what we want. That part down there is fixed too. Let's hit Q. All these other things are switched off, which is exactly what we want. And right here, while this guy is loading and the pipeline is loading right now, we can see this is a really good example of how it's not picking up all of it, and likely because I'm only going upper instead of overall, and the fact that it's coming down all the way here. So this will likely crank out a fairly funky looking image. Perfect example of what I was talking about. Because of the fact that the auto masker was only able to pull out and mask out, detect the top because we told it so. Um, it didn't change the bottom. So you can see it looks like this weird outfit, this weird dress, even though it's meant to look like this. So I'm going to take this opportunity to talk to you and show you, instead of the auto mask generator, there are several other ways you can do this. One of the ways, here's what I prepared earlier, is through segment anything. So segment anything, SAM2, right? Goes like this. You upload an image, you give it the segment anything node and give it the base model, and you run the image through Florence to run, which we talked about earlier, and you tell it, hey, I want the shirt. Can you solo that out, please? And it does its thing, and because it is a language model that does great with image processing, you then take the data out, and you're able to just get the top just like that. And we can actually run this. I won't show it in this demo, but you can throw in face, head, for example, and it will solo out the head. Okay. There's several other ways. There's also a point one where you can run the image through a points editor instead. And I can just show you what this looks like. So if I throw an image in here, new canvas, paste image, you can use the points editor and add certain parts to it and remove certain parts from the mask, connect that up to segmentation and be able to do it that way as well. All right. Again, out of scope of this video. All right, let's go back here and let's see if we can fix this really quickly just by making cloth type overall instead. Okay. Before we do that, I want to make sure that I mute this, or at least bypass it so that it doesn't fire. And let's see what it does with the mask. So everything else is fixed so far. There are no random seeds. So I'm going to hit Q one more time and see whether it changes. Okay, now it's the whole thing. Aha, we're getting close. So we slimmed her down. This kind of slimmed her down a little bit. This image down here, right? But hey, as a first pass, and again, this is why we want to be able to change the seed, turn it to increment so that we can have various different versions of this. But so far, so good. I am actually quite happy with this for now. Let's go do a check. Again, for the purpose of the demo, that works out okay. So as we can see here, it's not a spaghetti strap. There is this portion down below. That's a lot more relaxed fabric than the top here. That's a lot more structured. We can see the ribbing down here as well. It's all reflected in there, right? That's actually pretty okay. Again, as a first pass, I don't really want to show you and bore you with the entire way that we go through and refresh until we find the one that we want up here. Somehow this got changed, even though it was fixed. Anyway, let's go down here and let's put it through its paces as an example so that you can see what happens when we run through this whole piece. All right, let's see how the results turned out. So one thing that we do want to look out for are the number of buttons and whether we maintain that detail or not, the ribbing, and the bottom portion too. See, this is exactly what I mean by when you run it through the stable diffusion portion, while it adds texture into the fabric, you also start having funky things happen, like the buttons getting enlarged. And then we come in here and the buttons now looking funky, look funkier yet again. Look at the different sizes of the buttons. So even if we upscale that image the face is brought back in terms of detail, but the outfit wise, it is it doesn't get normalized, right? So yet another one where sometimes, especially already, you see two examples. Just going from here to the final upscale might be the way to go. And if not, then running it through to add detail would be the way to go. All right, so there you have it. That is the workflow. I thought I'd show you that example. This example here uses CapViton. This is the GitHub that you can see in here. And make sure you go through README files. I do have to tell you, though, that when it comes to open source models, it is the Wild West. Always check what models you're using, what types of nodes you're using, and whether what types of licensing they have also. Some of them are on MIT license, some of them Creative Commons. Just make sure you go in with your eyes wide open. Now, that being said, let's show you some platforms where you can use that platform closed source stuff to be able to generate this, especially if you want to do a lot of it, right? For your own brand or your agency, whatever else it might be, or even for yourself. So as you can see in here, CapViton in fal.ai, you can see that it's research only. There are a handful of other ones in here where it is available for commercial use. So just make sure that you are very aware of that, and you can come into FAL and use their APIs to be able to to be able to build the workflow that you need accordingly, right? Replicate is another good one in here too, where you can do the same thing and use various different types of models. Okay, now let's talk about video really quickly. I showed you that in the original. For that video that I created, this one in here, I just threw the prompt into cling.ai and I was able to crank out that video. So as you can see in here, different versions. Let me just throw this one in here. And it's a really simple prompt. A woman looks up at the sky and smiles from this reference image. And this is the video that came out. In fact, let's see if I can full screen this guy. You can see the way that the fabric moves, the way the hair moves. It looks like that there's wind and that it's a live place. The way that the hands interact with the sand, stuff that I am very impressed by when it comes to Kling. An alternative is Runway ML. You can use Runway 2. However, that being said, I have found that Kling is just puts out stuff that I just like, especially when it comes to visuals that we want to be able to use. All right, there you have it. That was a really long video, I know, and I tried to take you through as much as possible so that I can show you all the different steps and ways, really, that you can use open source and build in places like ComfyUI, at least to get this type of stuff going. There's hardly any code involved, and you don't need to, you just have to get yourself up to speed in terms of how to use a platform like Comfy. And then from here, if you want to take it further and really start to amp up your volume, you're able to do so because at least you know the basics, you know how the different things interact with one another, and then you can take it from there. All right, there you have it. That was a long whistle-stop tour with examples right in front of your face on how you can generate images and put garments on top of the images that you generate using something like ComfyUI. There are so many ways to be able to take this further. I hope that this helps you on your journey. Do check out all the different other YouTube creators and everyone in the diffusion space. It is a community that is so helpful. Everyone's helping one another. And if this has been helpful for you, please let me know in the comments. I cannot wait to see you in our next video.